I'm afraid of everything. I, I hate to say it, but sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I feel like I'm afraid of everything. I just, I worry too much about minutia, and it stops me from what is that? Oh God, a camera. So, I have lived my pretty much entire life being afraid of doing things. You may have heard the term FOMO, FOMO, fear of missing out. Well, I have this thing I call FODA, FODA, fear of doing anything. So, why do I have FODA? Why do I have this intrinsic fear of doing anything at all? And so when I think about this, I think about my attempts to do box jumps in the gym, something I historically had not done up until probably mid last year when I started doing circuit training. And so, before that, I'd done a little bit of work on the box as far as step ups and things like that, but never really jumping onto the box. So, let's talk about the way we are trained as children. So, most children are pretty much indestructible, right? I mean, they're like a Super Ball. You toss them somewhere, and they tend to tumble, they tend to roll, they tend to bounce. But I never had the chance to bounce. I never had the chance to tumble. I never had the chance to roll. And so part of this comes down to an overprotective mother who basically would not allow me to do certain things. If I wanted to play baseball, what I was told was, you can't play baseball. You're going to get hit in the head with the ball and you're going to die. You can't play football. You're going to get tackled and you're going to die. Oh no, you can't get wrestling. You can't do wrestling. If you do wrestling, somebody's going to pin you to the ground and break your neck and you're going to die. It always ended with, and you're going to die. It was always that one sentence, and you're going to die. And so as a result, I became afraid of my own shadow to some extent because I didn't want to die. And, up until through my childhood, I built a massive fear of death. We should all fear death because nobody wants to die, right? We don't want to die. But I had an innate fear of death as a child. And this was built into me by my mother basically saying, ... and you're going to die. So a good example of this is, let's take sports out of the way and talk about just walls. Retaining walls. Walls that sit like this, and you're like, okay, I need to get off of this wall. If you could not step off the wall, I was not allowed to jump off that wall. So if it was too much for a step, and when you're a kid, you're yay high, and so there isn't a lot you can step off of. You jump. Kids jump. It's what they do. They're kids, right? Well, if there was a wall that was, let's say, 1.5 feet high, and I couldn't step off a 1.5 feet high wall when I'm like 5 years old, so I had to climb down the wall. So I was supposed to sit down and kind of jostle myself and get in a position, and then be like, okay, and I'm off the wall! Yay! I won! What did I win? A cookie! I won a cookie? Oh, I'm gonna be a fat adult. Anyways, so I would not jump off the wall. So this got ingrained in me. And so even like the shortest of heights, jumping off of those heights became intrinsically scary to me. And it's kind of built a fear of heights into me that to some extent I have today. If I'm really high up, I get really nervous. We have a retaining wall. We have a flood wall here in Richmond. And if I walk across that wall, if I go over to the edge, I get a little bit hesitant. But what I've been trying to do is kind of push myself to do that to break down those barriers. So a year ago, less than a year ago, about 6 months. What year is it? It is. Oh, I forgot what year it is. So it's 2084, and the coronavirus has ravaged the countryside. No, it's 2020. So probably in October of 2019, I did my first actual box jump, and I jumped on a 12-inch box. Now you may be sitting here thinking, okay, that's really sad. You jumped on a 12-inch box and you feel accomplished. But you know what? It's something that I never did before. It's something I was never willing to do. And the fact that I did it made me so happy that I was able to get to that. Now, so I set myself a goal. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to jump on the 18-inch box. Didn't really get there right away. And it was always, I felt like I could do it, but my brain kept stopping me from doing it. When I came to my current gym, we built up to that, and I was doing a lot of plate jumps because we don't really have the shorter boxes at the gym there. So I used plates, so I stacked up 45-pound plates, and those things aren't budging. So I have these 45-pound plates, and I'm jumping on them, and I finally hit that 18-inch mark. And I'm 2 inches away from that 20-inch mark, which is the lowest box in the gym. So I'm going to start moving towards that. That was sort of my objective, was to at least get to that 20-inch mark. Then, the pandemic happened and things kind of got put on hold. So I'm going to have to rebuild my lack of fear. I'm going to have to overcome my fear again, I think, on that. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but I know I will get there. But, it's this fear of heights, and it's this fear of falling, and it's this fear of doing anything that was built into me. And I'm trying to overcome this, and the way I'm overcoming this is by doing. And by slowly progressing and doing, I realize I can do this stuff. I can jump off of a 20-inch platform, a 20-inch box, and have no problems. I can jump off that. A year ago, I would never have jumped off a 20-inch box. That would have driven me bonkers. And then, let's talk about swinging from the rig. So, doing gymnastic style stuff is very new to me. This is, I started in January doing some gymnastic kind of stuff, kipping swings and things like that, trying to learn the basics of gymnastics. Now, it's a bit like a gorilla swinging on a bar at this point, but I knew that this would take time. This is a brand new thing to me, and while most kids played on giant jungle gyms and such, when they were most people were kids, they played on jungle gyms and they swung on bars and they acted like little monkeys because that's what kids do. I didn't do that. And so part of the reason I didn't do that was because, in the 80s, when I was growing up, there was this giant jungle gym in the playground. Now, in the 80s, we didn't have mulch. We didn't have soft surfaces. Our jungle gyms were in solid concrete. And so I climbed up to the top of this jungle gym because my mother was not there to stop me. And I proceeded to fall off said jungle gym and knock out both of my front teeth. That was fun. Probably one of my weirdest memories that just I can recall. I mean, I'm like 4 years old and I recall this with like vivid memory. If I go, ah! And I can still see myself falling to this day. But it taught me a lesson. Don't let people put jungle gyms in solid concrete. That's not a good idea. But no, it really didn't teach me a lesson. What it did was it made me afraid. It made me afraid of myself. It made me afraid of what I could do. And instead of going after it and being encouraged and saying, do it again and try harder next time and don't fall. Instead, the answer was, don't do that, let me wrap you in bubble wrap. And so I lived my life wrapped in bubble wrap for the next 40 years. 35. I'm not that old. I'm not that old yet, right? But no, seriously. Moving forward, I'm going to be doing more gymnastic stuff. I'm going to get those box jumps. And I'm going to overcome my fear of heights. I'm going to overcome my fear of jumping over things. And you know what? If I fall, I fall. So that brings me to how I'm going to end this video, which is a quick little story of what I feel is my tenacity at the gym. We were in a pretty crowded gym. It was a Saturday class, and it was rows, and it was, I think, cleans, barbell cleans, and then it was kipping swings on the bar. So I do my rows, I do my cleans, and then I go to do my swings. And by now, I'm a couple months into this, so it's not horrible, but it still looks terrible. And my head's wobbling all over the place like a bobblehead. And at my sixth swing, which was the last one, I back up, I come in, and I lose my grip. I go flying across the gym and land on the ground, on my rear end, directly in front of the rower. Now, I had two choices at that point. I could either give up or I could press on. I chose to press on. Got up, made sure there was no damage. I mean, other than my ego, obviously. But I made sure there was no damage. And, I'm like, yep, nothing's broken, nothing's torn, nothing's pulled, I'm good. And then I immediately jump on the rower and do my next set of rows. Because I realized in that moment that I could fling myself across the room, land on my rear end, and I wouldn't instantly shatter into 1,000 little pieces. I'm not made out of ice. I'm not made out of crystal. I'm a human being. And the one thing about the human body is it's pretty strong when you work at it. And that's not to say that you can't break things, right? But you have to learn how to fall, and you have to learn how to control your body, and you have to learn that if you fall down, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep moving. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. Oh, almost. I mean, it's going to take a while to get to those box jumps. That box is really tall. I mean, seriously, that's a tall box. And you want me to jump onto it? That's really tall. But you know what? I'm going to work up to it. I'm going to get it. And then I'm going to get even more. Because I'm going to get that explosiveness. I'm going to get that athleticism. I'm going to lean down. And I'm going to get the body that I've always wanted. Because I'm committed and I'm dedicated to achieving my goals. Simple as that. All right, guys. Till next time. Thanks for tuning in.